Hello everybody, and welcome to Higurashi When They Cry Chapter 8, the final chapter in the Higurashi series that just released. And MangaGamer has been kind enough to provide me with the key to this game, so thanks to them for that. So let's start, let's get right into it. Play a little bit of this, and yeah. At least let it end with a blissful dream. Festival accompanying chapter. The riddle you have been entrusted with solving now finally becomes unraveled. What must be done to stop the chain, and what will happen in the ultimate end showdown between the conclusion you reached and the one I reached. There is no difficulty. You should understand that now. Everyone is entitled to happiness. The difficult part is accepting that. Yeah, everyone is entitled to happiness. The difficult part is fulfilling that. I too am entitled to happiness. The difficult part is working out a compromise. Frederica Berncastle. This is a work of fiction. Obviously. But, you know, it's nice to do that. The study was filled with piles of books and papers. In that study, there was a full-figured old man writing something at his desk in utmost concentration. There was also a little girl sorting out papers on the carpet. She almost looked as though she was playing with them. The serious expression she was wearing made it clear that she wasn't. Grandpa? I'm done sorting them out. Thank you. Let's see what happened. Look, there's lots of people with the same symptoms, way higher than the national average. That's exactly what I expected. There's an intriguing treatise over here too. It discusses psychosurgery and civilization. It also predicts the existence of parasites that inhabit the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is what causes emotion. That's right, emotions aren't created by the heart. They're just side effects of the chemicals secreted by the organ known as the brain. If parasites capable of acting on that organ did exist and spread to create a colony, then that colony's thoughts would be unified. So are parasites the cause of the spread of ideology? When ideologies clash, is that because the different parasites are competing to expand their habitat? That, or to expand religion, to expand national borders, or to expand a race. It's hypothesized that our differing cultural communities and their conflict and the results of parasites influencing human thoughts. Wow. There are people in other countries who think the same thing as you, Grandpa. Of course there are. There are countless parasites on this earth. Well known that some coexist with their hosts and some control their hosts. We've also discovered plenty of parasites that infect humans. But despite that, we adamantly deny the possibility that parasites could infect humans and control their hosts. Even the hypothesis of such a thing. Why do you think that is? Humans aren't special in any way. Because that hypothesis would also mean changing our view to see the spread of ideologies from the perspective of epidemiology. If conflicts in ideology can be resolved through a debate, then they're peaceful. But if those conflicts occur epidemically, they become frightening. And if one were to treat bad thoughts of the spread of culture as an epidemic, think about the Black Plague in Europe during the Middle Ages. A violent infectious disease spread. They forced infected people into hospitals and didn't release them until they completely recovered. Some even died in those hospitals. They burned their corpses. They confiscated and burned everything those patients touched for fear of the plague infecting it. They've even suspected families of infection and forced them into hospitals. So they'd hospitalize healthy people over individual ideas? Replace an idea with a disease. The rest is the same. Patients won't be released until they completely recover. People burn everything that may have been touched by the patient. They force the patient's family to go to the hospital. People are free to think what they will, right? Thoughts aren't pests. An idea was created by parasites that would be exactly the same as a plague. In other words, an idea is like an incurable epidemic. So you mean anyone with a different idea is treated like they have a disease? That's right. If we bring this to its logical conclusion, parasites could be responsible for mass murders of people belonging to different races or religions. But this can't be seen as justifying genocide. Therefore, talking about parasites and brains has been taboo since the war. What does taboo mean? It means something people shouldn't get involved with. That's why nobody researches these things. Nobody even remembers anything about parasites that live in the brain. They assume that parasites which control humans just simply don't exist. That's almost funny. How can they prove something doesn't exist? That's just impossible. Exactly. Proving that the devil exists is easy. You just have to show him to someone. But you can't prove he doesn't exist. You can't show somebody something that doesn't exist. It's almost as if the parasites in the brain are controlling people so they can keep their own existence a secret. Me and my grandfather shared a happy laugh together. Humans are simply another animal in this natural world. We might be at the top of the food chain, but fools should think that we're superior to others. Humans can be controlled by parasites. Just because the existence of such parasites hasn't been proven yet, doesn't mean they don't exist. They exist. I know they do. It's happened before in the scientific world, right? That's right. Not all scientists are recognized for their work while they're alive. There were many who were ridiculed and couldn't prove their theories to be true. But Grandpa, I hope your theory will be recognized before you die. Otherwise, it would be so sad. Don't worry. God doesn't ignore people who work hard. Hard work always pays off in the end. That is not true. Some people work hard their whole lives and have nothing to show for it. But when will that happen? Nobody knows when God is going to descend from heaven. Just like you never know when you'll be robbed. So we always have to be alert and ready so that we don't miss our chance. There was something that my grandfather said all the time. Nobody knows when efforts will bear fruit. But it will happen one day. That's why you must always work hard so you have no regrets when the time comes. Your efforts will bear fruit someday. That's what he meant. But is it going to happen before you die? Even though there were so many scientists whose works weren't recognized while they were alive? Such a cruel thing to say. But I didn't mean to be cruel. I had seen how hard my grandfather had been working, and I also knew he wouldn't live forever. I just wanted his work to gain recognition before he died. Do you know of the resurrection of Jesus Christ? Yeah. He was crucified and resurrected after 3 days. Tell me about it. How do you think Jesus was resurrected? Didn't he just get up as if he was waking up in the morning? He was buried after his execution, so his body was in the ground. Did he break open the tombstone and crawl out like a zombie? No. That wouldn't be called a resurrection. The sinners who killed Jesus imagined exactly the same thing. Jesus predicted that just before he was executed that he would come back to life after 3 days. The sinners buried Jesus, sealed his tomb, and posted guards to watch over it. But what Jesus meant wasn't that he would resurrect physically. He meant his teachings would be resurrected. After 3 days, Jesus' teachings were resurrected and people were regaining their belief. The hearts of those who wanted to be shown the proper way revived his teachings. That's what the resurrection of Jesus Christ is all about. He came back to life in the hearts of his believers. Jesus doesn't exist physically on this earth, but he exists in people's hearts. In other words, that's when Jesus became an existence superior to humans. Even if it's after the author's death, as long as his work receives a fair evaluation, it will live again as a great achievement. Even if my body is gone by then, my life will return and receive recognition. Does that mean I'll become God just like Jesus did? Indeed. My research will be recognized for what it is someday. That's when I will become a god. That's why I'm not in a rush to achieve that recognition. I don't know when that day will come. God doesn't know that either. The day will come. That's why I need to continue to work as hard as I can. It's very sad to hear my grandfather say that his life would end one day. He wasn't ill, and he didn't only have just a few years left to live. But set next to the average lifespan, his remaining years didn't look like much. The only person left in my life was my grandfather, so I didn't even want to consider what it would be like with him gone. Grandfather must have remembered that I didn't like to talk about that subject. With a tender smile, he gently patted my head. Of course, I want my research to be recognized before I die. I will do my best. Yep, I'll do my best to help you too. I purposely didn't mention the before you die part. I caught myself before I said it. Thank you, that makes me very happy to hear. Grandfather smiled in satisfaction. His research wasn't exactly outrageous. He wasn't trying to uncover the mysteries of the universe. He was only searching for the possibility that parasites could be responsible for human behavior. Nothing more than that. Nothing outrageous. It really wasn't a wild idea. We even had some leads. Hinamizawa Village, Ishibone City, XX Prefecture. The villagers there are possessed by powerful homesickness. When they are unable to return, they allegedly behave abnormally as if they're cursed. There are also some bizarre rules in place in the village based on their belief system. When he was working with the military during the war, my grandfather noticed similarities between the people in Hinamizawa and assumed that some kind of existence was responsible for their odd behavior. He'd been researching it ever since. In the middle of the 20th century, numerous strange diseases were discovered all over Japan. Most of them were caused by infectious parasites, and people started to pay attention to this forgotten field of study. Grandfather's research was simply one of those investigations into such diseases. Therefore, he believed it would be published amongst other research and attain recognition soon. But if his research didn't bear fruit before his death, I wanted to continue it. I wanted to continue his research. Grandfather taught me, resurrection isn't something that happens physically. It's when your life's work is appreciated. That's what he meant by resurrection. That's when he'll become a god. So when my grandfather dies, he'll still be with me forever. Wouldn't have to be alone ever again. I'll always be with my grandpa. Our works will gain recognition, and we will both become gods, gaining eternal peace. I will make my grandfather into a god. I will become a god. Therefore, we will be granted eternity. We will be together forever and ever. I was looking at the key on a keychain. The key was labeled Hen House, but the lock Erica was trying to open didn't belong to that door. We should have opened effortlessly. At least that's what was supposed to happen. But it didn't open. I noticed beads of sweat forming on Erica's forehead. She was the one who came up with this idea. Erica was starting to panic. The rest of us started to panic too. This only opens the hen house. Let's stop. Let's go back. Shh. We were supposed to be cleaning out the hen house. They found us back here. They found out why we were here and why we were trying to open the lock to the back door. And all four of us were sure to be sentenced to splayed piggy. Don't panic, Erica. The key opens this lock, right? You already tried it, right? You just shut up for a minute. This is the right key. It's just hard to open, that's all. He was almost shrieking. Our hearts were pounding loudly, as though the sound of our heartbeats was echoing throughout the hallway. And at that point, we heard footsteps that didn't belong to each other. Shh! Someone's coming! Three of us held our breaths, but Eriko didn't hear it. She kept fussing with the lock and the key, as if everything would be okay if she could just open the lock. Eriko, somebody's coming, be quiet. I know this is the right key. I'm not dreaming, I already tried that, and it opened. Come on, why isn't this working? When this lock's open, we can be happy. We can say goodbye to this hell. Eriko, somebody's coming. My father and mother died. I don't know exactly how old they were. I was too young to remember. They went shopping without me, and that must have been why they were punished. It was a train accident. What a terrible disaster. A lot of people died in that incident. But maybe my father was one of the lucky ones. He was still alive when he arrived at the hospital, so he was able to share his final words with me. My mother died instantly. Daddy, Daddy, Daddy! I didn't want to admit that this person I could hardly recognize was my father. As I called out to him, I hoped that it was someone else instead. But, unfortunately, it was my father. Maybe I shouldn't have woken him. because when I woke him up, he was reminded of the miserable agony that he had forgotten. Daddy! Daddy, Daddy, Daddy! Tried to move his right arm, so he could pat my head. His arm was wrapped in bandages. His hand was no longer there. I couldn't find his hand anywhere on the bed. I only had scary memories of his right hand. My main job was to slap me when I did something bad. But I never wished it to be gone. Besides, that hand also patted my head, even though that only happened a few times. It was a big, warm hand, and it stroked my head very gently. No matter what good deeds I did, I could no longer rub my head. No. His hand was the least of his worries. He had to go into emergency surgery. The doctors already warned me that the chance of him surviving was very low. That was why I was allowed to see him regardless of his condition. Not only could he no longer rub my head, but he might be gone forever. Daddy, the surgery will make you better, right? Daddy, you'll get better, right? Right? But listen carefully. Your daddy might not make it. Even if I die, I'm too strong, okay? Oh no! You'll get better. Doctor's going to make you better. You're not going to die. He was a stubborn and old-fashioned father. He believed endurance was a virtue and he never complained about anything. That was why I couldn't believe he actually said he might not make it. I tried desperately to deny his words, but even that wish would grow in his life. My father, knowing his time was limited, tried to tell me some important things, but I interrupted his efforts by crying like a baby. I just wanted him to slap me, like he used to do every time I cried like a baby. But he would never slap me again. Hey, listen up. Your mother and I both lost all of our family in the war. So, after I'm dead, there won't be anyone left to take care of you. You didn't need to tell me that. My parents used to tell me that all the time, so I was aware of that fact. In other words, my father was the only relative I had left in this entire world. If I die, you can count on Dr. Takano. Dr. Hifumi Takano. You see it? Hifumi Takano? That's right. Water. That's right, Dr. Hifumi Takano. He's my former teacher. He will help you. Daddy, Daddy, Daddy! Many doctors came into my room in a hurry. He wanted to tell me something else, but the doctor stopped him from talking, so I wasn't able to hear him. I was kicked out of the room. I didn't know what to do. Nobody told me how my father was doing or when the surgery was going to start. Nobody told me that was going to be the last conversation I ever had with my father. I think I asked people about the government office about Dr. Takano. They'd asked me if I knew his phone number. I said I didn't, and they didn't ask me anything further. Sometimes they told me they'd look into it, but nothing led to anything. They couldn't find me a guardian, so I ended up going to an orphanage. At the time, there were plenty of orphans from the war, so although there were many orphanages around, they were all full. There were also some orphanages run by civilians. I was sent to one of these civilian orphanages. There was no profit to be had taking in an orphan in the first place. Well, I thought those civilians who were running orphanages must have been very good people. I was sure they hoped that the children would grow in this loving environment and enter into society with a sense of gratitude. The reality is not so kind. How many children in this world can actually express their gratitude towards their parents in the first place? Children are supposed to be nurtured by the parents' love. Therefore, when that environment is destroyed, their hearts are wounded. Every child has his or her own personality. Receiving affection doesn't guarantee that the child will become someone angelic. Not everyone's heart can be healed. That was why there were some problem kids at the orphanage. Maybe I shouldn't call them problem kids, though. Sadness and despair of losing their parents, and the anger at having to hide such feelings filled those kids' hearts. Spending time individually with these children could have solved their problems. But at the orphanage, where I was, none of the staff members even tried to spend time with them or put in an effort to understand them. All they could do was make sure that the kids followed the rules. Therefore, they could only see the children's emotional pleas for help as problems. In this world, nobody expresses love without expecting something in return. The person who founded the orphanage was expecting something in return as well. He wanted the children to appreciate him. That was why such a faint dream was destroyed by cruel reality. The children called the orphanage a prison, and nobody appreciated the staff at all. In fact, all they did was complain. That made the staff slowly realize that love alone couldn't run a facility like that. Just like how the children called it a prison, the staff started to recognize the facility as a prison as well. It was a chain reaction resulting from mistrust on both sides. The staff bound the children with rules so they could suppress problem behavior. There was a framed picture of the founder of this orphanage, but I've never seen him in person. Was he satisfied with the fact that he put his own money into this social service? Or maybe he finally realized his dream of being surrounded by angelic children and being celebrated for what he did was simply that, a dream. I don't know. But there's one thing I'm certain of. This dream didn't exist at that orphanage. There were so many rules, several plausible standards outlined for us, but the most valued one was silence. Children's chatter tends to increase each other's volume, just like mics drawing closer. And sometimes that leads to fights and the disturbance of order. The children were forbidden from speaking with each other. If it was disallowed, they must have thought things would go smoothly. However, I think I always heard people's voices at the orphanage. There were two kinds of voices. One was the staff yelling and the other was the children crying. We were not allowed to walk around inside of the orphanage freely, so we really never knew who it was that was crying. One time, along with the crying and the yelling, we heard the noise of metallic things being smashed against each other. We knew it was some kind of punishment, but there was really no way for us to even imagine what it was. We trembled, pretended we didn't hear anything, and kept working on our assignments. One of my roommates told me it was the casket punishment. She didn't tell me any further, and I didn't want to know either. Even if we behaved exactly the same way as yesterday, if the staff were in a bad mood, they might pick on us. So even if I didn't want to know, I might suddenly find out what the casket punishment is one day. The footsteps of a staff member were getting closer. We noticed them, so we straightened our backs and pretended we were studying hard. It was more important that the staff saw us doing so than us actually getting any work done. I noticed the girl next to me was falling asleep, and I poked her with my elbow. She noticed my signal and straightened her back like the other children. It was almost evening. The hardest time for us to keep ourselves awake, and the most dangerous time. The door of our room opened, and a mean-looking man showed up. Then he looked around to make sure none of us were falling asleep. Even if we were actually studying hard, if he thought we were asleep, we were out. This was why we had to make sure we appeared to be studying very hard. The man walked around our desks. I hoped he would just walk by me. That was what we all prayed as we kept working on our homework. The more we pretended to study hard, the more we could hear the sound of metal objects. The sound of metal objects crashing into each other along with screams. Couldn't even imagine what the poor subject of that punishment was going through. Maybe there was something even worse than the casket punishment. To erase such fears, we tried to concentrate even harder on our work. We kept working, as the metal sounds and the screams went on forever. Jesus. Imagine living in an environment like that. My God. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. The only time we were allowed to exchange words with our roommates was right after turning the lights off to go to bed. Being located in the middle of the mountains, the orphanage was very quiet at night. After making sure the staff members were far enough from our room, we enjoyed talking amongst ourselves. That was the only leisure time allowed to us, though it wasn't anything nice, like enjoying pleasant conversation. Why? Well, because we mostly talked about others behind their backs. We spoke of things like that member of staff is only strict or unfair or malicious towards this person, and so on and so on. We just repeated those topics forever until someone couldn't keep themselves awake anymore. We even discussed how we could get back at the staff. We took revenge on all of them in our imagination. Some kids even started to cry when talking about it, difficult as it was for us. Although the subjects we spoke of were negative, talking about them was the only way to vent our frustration. And even though we felt despair about tomorrow, we were able to fall asleep. Sometimes, a different subject popped up. It was about the Yurigaoka House of Love and Mercy on the other side of the river. Yeah. Over there, I hear they got not only nap time, but snack time too. Plus, their president is a very nice person. The House of Love and Mercy was a privately run orphanage just like the one I was at. But it was a very kind facility, unlike ours. It seemed like a fantasy land compared to our current environment. A few years before, when this place was a lot worse, few children tried to escape. Hard to believe. There was a time when this place was even worse than to live at. Supposedly 3 or 4 people tried to escape. I don't know the exact number though. They headed to the House of Love and Mercy. Their escape was a success. Except for one unlucky child. They were able to get to the property of the House of Love and Mercy. I guess the staff couldn't follow them into the orphanage's property. In other words, the other facility's property had to be out of their jurisdiction. Staff were frustrated that the kids got away from them, and they dragged the one they caught back here. I'm sure they wanted to bring back the others who got away from them too. I'm certain the staff were determined not to let a single one escape. It was easy to see the determination and the obstinate way that locked the place up after that event. But they were never able to bring back the ones that got away. No matter how much the staff were mortified, they couldn't reclaim the children and punish them. In other words, if you could make it to the House of Love and Mercy, then you could escape the evil clutches of this hell. On the other hand, the one they caught went through such a misery afterwards, yet the exact details of how he was punished never passed down. All that remained were ominous phrases left by those who knew him at the time. The drowned ducky, the mashed caterpillar, the splayed piggy. Can't even imagine what kind of punishments they were. The only thing I can say is that those punishments were supposed to be far more harsh than the casket punishment, which was the most cruel punishment I knew of at the time. I can only imagine how horrible those punishments were from their ominous names. After that, captured kid's wish came true, and he was able to leave the orphanage. Was he able to leave his orphanage safely and enjoy his freedom while breathing in fresh air under the blue sky? Well, according to the rumors, that wasn't what happened at all. While he was playing in the boiler room, he slipped and fell, injured his brain and died. Children were instructed not to go into the boiler room after that incident. Everyone knew the boiler room was always locked. Everyone knew. He was killed. And not just that, he was killed after being tortured. He was killed to teach the other children that they would face hell on earth if they tried to escape. But those who faced that risk and made it out attained ordinary, average lives, full of love and mercy's namesake, which were far better conditions than when they lived in here. Maybe the House of Love and Mercy was really heaven. Maybe all the orphanages are pretty much the same. But compared to my orphanage, I bet anything else would have been better. Even if someone escaped successfully, the police would catch him. Then he'd be sent back to the orphanage, which would be pretty much the same thing as being killed. However, if you could reach the House of Love and Mercy, they'd take him in. They wouldn't send him back. By talking about escaping to the House of Love and Mercy, we were trying to forget how cruel reality was to us. Then one day, the leader of our group, Eriko, said to us quietly, "Would you try and escape if you had a chance to?" I mean, who didn't want to escape from here? It was a rather foolish question, but that wasn't what she meant. If there was a chance to escape, would you take that chance knowing that you had to go through if you got caught? That was what she meant. You know, risk versus reward. None of us could answer immediately. If the previous escape attempt was a total success, then we might have thought differently. But after that, the orphanage had tightened up security to prevent runaways. All the doors and windows were locked heavily, and it wouldn't be at all easy to get out. Even if another group escape was planned, the success rate would be very low. 3 escaped and 1 was caught before. Maybe 2 would be caught next time. Or maybe everyone would be. If I could, I'd want to escape. But the House of Love and Mercy is so far away. The bridge is long, too. We'll all be caught before we get there. Besides, we can't even go outside. Everything is locked up. There were locks all over the orphanage. To escape, you need a key from both the inside and the outside, and after the lights were turned off, Even each section of the hallway was individually locked. Make no mistake, this was a prison. According to the rumors, orphanages receive government funding depending on the number of children they house. So, if anyone escapes, well, they lose money, much like prisons. Also, if we were to expose the conditions at the orphanage, they would end up being inspected and things would get complicated for them. That was why they were so intent on keeping us locked up. Sure, if there was a chance I would want to escape, but realistically, there's no way we could. Every door is locked. Oh, did you know? The hen house in the courtyard uses the same key as the door to the back stairs. Huh? Really? Shh. Eriko shushes. Sometimes mass-produced locks take the same key. Of course, most places use different types of locks, so that this won't happen. But the staff at the orphanage must have overlooked it. So there were 2 locks that used the same key at the orphanage. However, most of us never had a chance to even touch the keys. But there were a few exceptions. One of those was the hen house. Each room group took turns taking care of different chores. If your group was assigned to clean the hen house, you'd have to get a key to it from the teacher's office. You were supposed to return the key immediately after you were done. But while taking care of the hen house, the key was in the children's hands. While the staff would occasionally come around to check, they couldn't keep an eye on you forever. Eriko-chan, you weren't thinking about using that key, are you? Let's not. It's too dangerous. Of course it's dangerous if there's only one of us, but it's different if we're in a group. Wait, why? Do you know why only one kid was caught the last time they tried to escape? They were desperate. And so to escape as a group, they did something. Increased the chances of success. That was why only one of them was caught. What did they do? They scattered as they ran. They dashed in different directions. They waited until the day when there were only a few people working at the orphanage and ran this way and that. And so, although it all depended on luck, it would increase the chance of success for sure. On your own, you'd probably have no hope, but if the staff were to chase after other children, well, then your own chance of escaping successfully would increase. In other words, Eriko was inviting us to escape with her. The more children joined, the more each of our chances would succeed. But among us, there were children who tattled to the staff for their own benefit. So she had to be very careful about who she talked to. Eriko must have trusted us a lot. Eriko, me, Momi, and Kikyo. 4 children. Do any of you want to stay here a day longer? 3 of us shook our heads, but at the same time we couldn't agree to escape with her either. Of course we don't want to stay here a day longer, even an hour longer. Even if we did exactly the same thing as we did yesterday, we might get yelled at tomorrow. I can't stand this anymore. I can't stand living in fear of what to do and what not to do, so I won't be yelled at. We all feel the same way. We could endure strict rules, but it was almost impossible to endure vague ones. It wasn't too much of a stretch to say that the rules depended on the mood of the staff. This is okay, that isn't okay. Such borderline rules change daily. And if we were to say anything about that, we would be treated horribly for it. I will escape even if I have to do it alone. Like I said, the more people that join, the better our chance. Think about it. If they find out about this henhouse key trick, they're sure to change the lock on the back door. In other words, we only have one chance. So even if you regret not joining in later, it'll be too late. But, well, I'm scared. You're scared too. If we get caught, we'll be killed. Tomomi and Kikyo weren't the only ones who felt afraid. The fear was perfectly understandable, because all of a sudden the fear of the punishment that would follow had become very realistic. Sure, Eriko felt the same way too, but her courage was suppressing her fear. Because of that, she shared her idea with us. So, do you plan to stay here forever? No way. I know you're scared, but this is the only chance we have. You have to be brave just this once. What about you, Miyako? Do you want to go with me? Like Tomomi and Kikyo, I wasn't trembling that much. Of course, I was scared in my own way, but compared to the other two, I must have appeared rather calm. Can we really escape? Of course, Eriko couldn't guarantee our success, but I had to ask her anyway. There's no guarantee, but if you join me, I'll have a better chance of escaping than trying to run on my own. Of course, the same goes for you, too. Eriko gave a calculated reason, but I'm sure she just wanted her friend to agree with her. That was probably more important to her than increasing her chances to escape. Tomomi, Kikyo, if you're scared too, then I won't force you. Miyako and I will escape ourselves. 2 is enough. Well... Eriko rushed the two to make up their minds. It almost looked like cold, but that was her way of mustering their courage, because it was very possible that regardless of the outcome of our escape attempt as our roommates, those two would be held responsible. It's not like we'll do it tomorrow. Our turn to take care of the hen house is in a week. We'll wait for the perfect time to do it. If you don't feel that it's safe, then we'll wait until our next turn. We'll be very careful. The rotation of the staff and the timing were important, but we also each had to know the way to the House of Love and Mercy. We were planning to split up, so we had to know the area. I made up my mind. Okay, I'm coming with you. But let's time our escape very carefully, okay? Of course. We'll be killed if we get caught. I don't want to die. I'll come too. Me too, me too. Mommy and Kikyu agreed, and so we all decided to escape as a group. We waited for the perfect opportunity. We waited for the day where only a few staff members were at the orphanage, and we decided to let God take care of the rest. Ah, it's open! Maybe it was the way I did it. Eriko tried to open the lock several times without success, but I got it open on the first attempt. The back door opened slowly, and we felt a cool breeze. It wasn't a world of freedom just yet. In fact, it was the exact opposite. If the staff were to find out we were here, we would be in big trouble. It was a world of danger. But unless we went through that dangerous world, we wouldn't be able to go any further. Okay, let's go. I think Eriko wanted to say that. We were planning to leave with that as our cue. But what we heard instead wasn't Eriko's voice. What are you kids doing there? We started to run. It was raining. We all got soaked immediately and our clothes stuck to our skin. Although normally we were very uncomfortable, we couldn't even stop to think about that. We could only keep running in the rain. We were dashing on gravel, but it felt like trudging through a muddy rice field. My feet kept sinking and I couldn't pull them up. I was frustrated because no matter how fast I tried to run, I wasn't gaining any speed. I felt a sense of urgency. I heard someone yelling escape behind me, and all I could do was run like crazy. Okay, everyone go in different directions. Scatter. Come on, scatter. Eriko's cue, we all went different ways, hoping they wouldn't be coming after us. Would we be able to reunite safely at the House of Love and Mercy? All four of us there together, and maybe someone will be missing. No, maybe. Everyone else would make it. And I'd be the one who gets caught. My thoughts were interrupted by the voice of a staff member coming from behind me. Hold it! Wait, hold it right there! The staff members should have numbers fewer than us. So if I was lucky, they wouldn't be coming after me. Praying that the staff voices I heard in the distance weren't after me, I was back for a moment. If I had time to turn around, why didn't I take another step forward? Why didn't I try to escape further? As I turned around, I felt a huge hand cover my face. Its pinky finger slipped into my open mouth. The hand grabbing my face shoved me into the muddy gravel. Of course, I didn't stay quiet. I fought back. And then I saw his face. It's the scariest face I've ever seen. I realized it immediately. He only wanted to capture me alive. He used me as an example. Considering what would happen to me afterwards, killing me here on the spot wouldn't pose any problem, would it? Yes. He looked at me with unworldly hate, ready to end my life here and now. His pinky finger ended up touching my tongue, the indescribably nasty taste underneath going through my whole body. That's it! This is what my murder tastes like. He was going to shove that finger down my windpipe and suffocate me. So in order to live, I fought back in the only way I could. Something warm filled my mouth. It felt like swallowing blood after a nosebleed. I spit it from my mouth and ran without turning around, leaving behind a staff member clutching his pinky finger. You little shit. Damn, you, I'll kill you! I heard his words echoing behind me. It wasn't a man that was after me. He was a beast. He had no interest in capturing me. His only goal was to see me dead. My shoes had slipped off. They weren't sneakers, but they came off easily when I was running like mad. My bare feet struck the gravel over and over. It was painful, but I didn't care, because if I stopped, I knew that what would happen to me. 'Tree branches cut my face and barbed wires scratched my thighs. My feet and toes were bloody from running on gravel. The blood from the staff member's pinky finger dripped down from my mouth, staining my chin and chest. I was running for my life with scratches and cuts all over my body. If I were to get caught, I would be killed. If my pursuer had any sense, then I would be killed after being tortured. But if he didn't, I would be killed on the spot. I don't want to be killed. I don't want to be killed. My lungs and heart were about to explode. My mind was blank from fear and lack of oxygen. I was about to lose consciousness. I might have given in. I could hear the voice of the staff member coming after me. My knees were shaking. My legs wouldn't move properly. I felt like I was going to fall like a puppet without strings. But I couldn't fall. I couldn't fall just yet. Ah! It's too late. My face had hit the gravel. I felt the awful sensation of falling, and immediately after, the roar of the beast coming from behind me. Damn you, my finger! My finger! Ah! 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 Oh, I must have hit my thigh against the steering wheel when I jumped. I feel the throbbing pain, delayed slightly. Sweating all over. I wiped the sweat on my forehead and put my hand on my chest. I didn't realize how fast my heart was beating. I rubbed my thigh. I rubbed it in a straight line. It's not where I hit the steering wheel. But I feel like this is where it hurts. I can't see a scary beast in the moonlit car. I have my shoes on and I'm not covered in blood. My toes are fine too. Someone knocked on the window, startling me. Major. Time. Oh, thank you. I wanted to take a nap, so I told him to come wake me up in an hour. Maybe an hour was too long. Too long a nap actually makes you tired. Put my seat back up and got out of the car. Cool breeze feels good on my skin. I only see the moon. There's nothing else to see on this mountain trail. My car and a command vehicle disguised as a trailer are parked on the side of the street. I can still feel that bad taste in my mouth. I spat it out on the side of the street. But even that couldn't get rid of it. Taste of blood, saliva, and rain. Sweat from my forehead and raindrops got into my mouth, but I couldn't swallow, so I ended up drooling. The sensation around my lips brought back memories. I tried to wipe my mouth. Phew. Maybe I'm nervous. Why I had such a bad dream. I think there's a coffee machine in the command vehicle. An unpleasant cup of coffee will wake me up. So, has anything happened yet? No, not yet. We just got Gifu's scheduled check-in. Everything's okay over there. Let's see. Hey, why don't you make me a cup of coffee? Sure. Cream and sugar? Just cream, please. No, please put in some sugar too. I still have a bad taste in my mouth. The feeling of biting and crushing his little finger and the filthy blood filling my mouth. I'm sure a sweeter cup of coffee will wash down that bad taste and also wake me up from my nightmare completely. Achievement unlocked. House of Love and Mercy. Well, I think that's going to do it for the quick look. If you want, you can check it out right now. You can check it out on Steam or MangaGamer.com. Yeah, that'll be it. If you like the video, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more content. Have a good day, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Take care.